Gwyn is not the savior, he never was, scrubbed. Unwritten shadow item, yet the texts in archives voids Lordran's swallow names, ruin's whisper of a theft more precise than ruin. A flame burns blue in a knight's palm, yet the archives voids swallow names, wars, entire ages. What is carved away leaves no trace, no relic, no ghost. Wars they died edited, no kneeling ghost shadow. A question hangs, when history is not broken, but never written what evil thrives in that perfect silence. What if the Golden Order didn't just rule the Age of Fire, they erased it? The hollow archive's silence is no accident. Unwritten histories are not lost, they are locked away, a weapon of absence. What if the first flame's light burns not to preserve but to conceal? The unwritten sigils whisper of a cover-up, brutal and methodical. 4 lords claim the age, yet their deeds vanish. Why? To erase guilt, to sculpt devotion from void. But here is the terror, what thrives when truth is not shattered but never born. The chosen undead walks a world built on stolen memory. The Golden Order's sin was not their rule but their ability to make it seem as if it never was. What if the greatest crime is not what was done, but what was left unwritten? The Age of Fire was born not from creation but from a reckoning. The 4 lords Gwyn, Nito, the witch, the pygmy each claimed dominion through stolen lord souls. When the first flame began to fade, the undead curse spread. Gwyn, last of the Fireborn, linked the flame to delay its end. His gift of the hollow archive to Seath, the Scaleless, was no act of trust. It was a weapon. Seath forged sorceries from its void, chasing immortality as the Golden Order crumbled. Unwritten histories are locked away, not lost. The archive's hollow pages erase the Order's crimes, the Lord's wars, the theft of the Abyss, the forced rebirths of the Age of the First Flame. Even the Lords of Cinder Nahargar, Aldenair echoes of a cycle the Golden Order dared not record. Gwyn's legacy is etched in paradox. He gave the archive to Seath, yet sealed its truths within the same kiln that sustained his borrowed fire. The void speaks louder than any lie. What the archive omits is a scar across history. The Lords of Flame did not fall to flame or shadow, they fell to silence. Their erasure is the final spark of their reign, and in that silence the truth festers. The greatest tyranny is not control, but the making of forgetting sacred. The hollow archive's silence is not a void, it is a wound. The unwritten entries are not errors, they are excisions, deliberate erasures etched by the Golden Order's hand. Gwyn's kiln, hollowed and cold, mirrors this theft, its lord's soul drained, its purpose bleached from memory. The empty tomes in the archive do not await discovery. They resist it, consider the weight of absence. Every unwritten description in Dark Souls 1 is a scar where truth once lived. The Golden Order did not merely govern time, they gnawed at its edges, hollowing records to bury their role in the First Flame's death. The 4 lords Gwyn, Nito, the witch, the pygmy each carved a kingdom, yet none dared inscribe the collapse they provoked. Their archives are cenotaphs, monuments to omissions. What remains is not mystery, it is strategy. The unwritten is a weapon. By leaving history blank, the Golden Order ensured their sins would not rot in ink, but in the marrow of those who seek. The hollow archive's empty pages are not passive, they are a command: forget. The player who stumbles on these gaps is not solving a puzzle. They are tripping over a tombstone. The Age of Fire did not end with flame, it died in erasure. The Golden Order's greatest feat was not control, it was the art of making sacred forgetting feel like mercy. And in that silence the truth festers. The most dangerous crime is not what is written, but what is left to rot in the dark. The hollow archive was meant to hold the weight of ages, a ledger of souls, a monument to flame. Instead it gasps empty, its silence a noose around the throat of truth. Who carved this void? Not time, not decay, the architects of light. They burned the scrolls, erased the names, left only ash where there should be answers. Gwyn cast his soul into the kiln, yes. But he did not link the flame alone. Each relinking bled new sacrifice and dead, lords, the broken and the brave stolen, to feed a fire that had long since turned to cinder. The Golden Order did not merely prolong the Age of Fire, they feasted on its death throes. Their crime was not in the taking. It was in the editing. To let a history rot unseen is to make its horror eternal. The archive's blanks are not gaps, they are confessions. The 4 lords did not create the Age of Fire, they cannibalized it. chewed through the sinews of time to stitch a lie. Gwyn's name is etched in flame, but what of the nameless, the ones whose souls were pinched from their throats to keep his light alive? The Order did not conquer darkness, they buried it in a hole no eye could see. And now we kneel before their statues, blind to the truth gnawing in our bones. The worst tyrants are not those who write lies. It is those who steal the very ink from which truth might rise. Many see Gwyn's fall as a tragic necessity, a desperate king striving to prolong an age he loved. This reading honors his sacrifice, framing the hollowing as a noble last stand. But what if the true crime lies not in his choice, but in what he buried afterward? The firstborn's name is not merely lost, it is surgically removed. No mention, no trace. The hollow archive's silence is not passive decay, it is a scalpel. The Golden Order's greatest weapon was never the flame. It was the careful pruning of memory. Consider this, the four lords each claimed souls, yet only Gwyn's absence is etched so deeply. The Witch of Izalith Nido, the pygmy all remain in fragmented record. Why does Gwyn's erasure feel sharper? Because he did not merely fail, he purged. The Unwritten is not fan theory, it is the shadow of what he excised, and here is the callback. The Golden Order is never named in Dark Souls 1's texts, a collective erasure, even of their own title. Elden Ring's revelations feel like a crack in a vault. What if the Order's true sin was not ruling, but ensuring no reckoning could follow? By stealing the very words to describe them, to call this a fan theory is to repeat the silencing. The archive's hollows are not gaps, they are choices. And the most dangerous lies are those that insist they are not lies at all. The deeper question is still ahead. What did the Golden Order erase and why? The hollow archive's stone breathes cold, its silence humming with unmarked tombs. A scholar's fingers brush a hollow page ink once bled here, now reduced to ash. If the past is erased, what are we but shadows of a lie? The Order did not merely end an age, they devoured its memory, leaving only the taste of fire and the echo of a name that dared to forget. The hollow archive hums with the whisper of absence. Its shelves, carved from blackened bone, reek of charred parchment and iron rust. Here, between the brittle pages of an Ash of War tome, the scholars of Lordran find only smudged voidsink eaten by a force that does not decay, only unmake. The item's name is etched in glyphs that pulse like dying embers, but the description, a lacuna, a silence that breathes. Consider the scholar who first dared to transcribe these gaps. Her quill froze mid-stroke as the wax seal on the manuscript melted, not from heat, but from the absence of it. A chill seeped into her bones, a temperature lower than death. The words she had written minutes prior, notes on the Golden Order's noble sacrifice, had vanished, not erased, unwritten. As if the act of recording their crime had triggered the Order's oldest curse, oblivion as a corrective. The Golden Order did not merely consume the first flame, they devoured the asterisk-proof asterisk of their hunger. The four lords, each a god of contradiction, left no ledger of their betrayals, no scroll on Nido's pact with the abyss. No chronicle of the witch's stolen tinctures, only the hollow echo of their absences, a symphony of omissions. The Age of Fire's collapse was not a tragedy. It was a purge, a cleansing of all evidence that power had been seized, not inherited. The scholar's final entry, before her own name was scratched from the annals, reads, asterisk, to forget is their weapon, to remember is our war, asterisk, the tomes grow colder. The silence deepens, and in the dark the flame's ashes murmur a warning. Some sins cannot be named, only avoided. The Golden Order's sin was not fire, but forgetting. The hollow archive does not crumble from age, it collapses under the weight of what was removed. The unwritten lore is no accident, it is a scar, a void carved by those who feared their legacy would not be remembered but reviled. The tomes hold no dust of time, their pages are stripped bare, the ashes of war whisper of battles never recorded. The unwritten item texts those jagged, hollow phrases do not hint at lost knowledge, they confess to its theft. The Order did not merely rule, they edited. They burned scrolls, shattered stone tables, erased names from the flame's memory, not to hide tyranny but guilt. Four lords shaped the Age of Fire. Four souls fractured its foundation. Nido's rot, the witch's void, the pygmy's hunger, and Gwyn's final, desperate linkall wove the flame's fate. Yet the archive's silence erases their complicity. The Order's crime was not to kindle war, but to claim the title of saviors while the flame died of their making. What is worse, to rule cruelly or to rule so well that your cruelty becomes law? The unwritten lore is the Order's epitaph. A warning: history is not preserved in flames, it is buried in ash, and in the dark the hollow archive waits, not to speak, to withhold. The hollow archive's silence is not absence, it is a weapon. The unwritten lore, those hollowed-out item descriptions, are the only scars left by the Order's editors. They did not burn histories, they gnawed them back to bone. The first flame's fade was not failure, it was a theft. The undead curse, the Lords of Cinderthes, are not consequences, they are cover. The four Lord souls did not birth an age, they buried one. The Hollow Knight's warnings, they are not guidance, they are a cipher. The Ashen One's choice, a redaction. The Kiln's silence, a cipher's key. Every step through Lordran walks a script the Order never let you read. The next age of fire will not be reborn. It will be remade in the same mold, the same lords, the same lies, the same ash. The cycle is not a loop, it is a ledger. And the Golden Order writes in invisible ink. What is most dangerous about the Hollow Archive? Not its secrets, its emptiness, a void that swallows truth. A history that never happened, and yet you remember. The weight of knowing is the weight of the unwritten. To carry it is to carry the erasure. To act is to write in a world that only knows how to burn. The Hollow Archive is not empty, it is a tomb. The Golden Order did not burn their crimes, they folded them into the silence between stars. Gwyn's flame was no beacon, it was a censor's torch, consuming scrolls and scars alike. Marika's shattering left no record because the shards were never allowed to fall. What remains is a void polished to mimic eternity. A history unwritten is a history unchallenged. The Lords of the First Flame did not rule, they rehearsed. Their divine inheritance was not power but the script to erase themselves from it. You do not need ink to lie, you only need to withhold the questions. The Abyss did not corrupt Artorias. It revealed the truth the Order could not, that gods are not keepers, only thieves with better pens. We too leave archives hollow, not with fire but with the careful forgetting of who lit the match. The weight of Lordran is not in its ruins. It is in the gaps between them, unspoken pact that some doors remain closed because their keys were buried alive. What do our own golden ages omit? What fires are kept lit not to warm but to blind? The final lesson of the undead is that to remember is to defy. The first flame's last spark is not in its light, but in the shadow it casts on the pages left blank, and in that shadow the unwritten waits. Always waiting, always hungry, the silence is not peace, it is a signature. The silence is not peace, it is a signature. In the Hollow Archive's vault, the air hangs thick with the rot of forgotten ink. A scholar's trembling hand brushes a page blank as a skull's eye socket. The torchlight sputters, casting shadows that writhe like trapped things. He hears it then, a whisper not of wind, but of wanting, the kind of hunger that gnaws from the inside out. Here, in this mausoleum of stolen truth, the Golden Order's crime was never the fire they burned. It was the cold they left behind. A scholar once sought to transcribe the void, to give shape to the unspeakable. His quill snapped, his eyes bled. Now his name is a footnote in the absence. The unwritten does not beg to be found, it takes. It seeps into the mind, unraveling memory, stitching new lies in its place. You think you know Lordran's end. You know only what the Order permitted, a parable of flame, not the frost that followed. A candle dies. The scholar's face is pale, his breath fogging the void. He understands at last, the deadliest history is the one that eats its scribes, the one that does not need to be written, only remembered. And the screen fades to black. Asterisk, this history is not written. Perhaps it was never meant to be. Asterisk. What else did the Golden Order erase? The Hollow Archive's silence is no accident. Blank pages are weapons-proof of a history stolen to cloak their rise. The Witch of Izalith's name lingers in the gaps. Did her bloodline pay the true cost of immortality?